All right, the watch is for June 3rd, which is going to be a Friday. Starting off showing you the SPY here on a 5-minute basis, just to show you the gap down today. Looked like it would start climbing and then looked like, okay, it's falling apart. Remember yesterday, gap down, looked like it was going to fall apart and climb the rest of the day. Same thing again. This market is super strong. Bulls are in charge here. There it is on 60s, and here's the daily. So, pretty impressive strength, holding up above that trend line. All right, so with that in mind, keep in mind it's lower volume summer trading. You can see the volume dropping down here, right? So you really want to focus on that first couple hours when there's at least a semblance of volume, and then the rest of the day becomes almost untradeable. So, which is nice, really. You can make your money, if you can make your money in the first couple hours, and then you can have the rest of the day off. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, so let's start with ZFGN. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can kind of get a better view here. All right. So you had this big spike up back here. That was in January, then a lower high, lower high, lower high, and kind of a cup and handle here. And I was telling everybody in the chat that this chart is going to look good if this thing closes strong. I'm not a swing trader, so I don't have any of it. But I knew already that if this thing closed strong, it was going to be on the long watch list for tomorrow. And here it is on the long watch list for tomorrow. So looking for a red to green, something like that. If this can take out today's high, Thursday's high, which was 773. I'm actually going to write 774 in my notes. Don't live and die by that number because we don't know if it's going to gap up or down. But assuming a fairly flat open and assuming it doesn't hit 774 in the opening few minutes, because I generally don't trade stuff like that in the opening few minutes. I'm focused on gap plays. And if something breaks a previous day's high like this, looking like a follow-through day, in the first few minutes, a lot of times that ends up being a fake out. So I generally don't want this to happen in the opening, 10 or 15 minutes, even if it does. But anyway, all that said, ZFGN, I'm looking for a follow-through day tomorrow. In that one, CLRB had some really nice, made some nice money in this one today. And it closed kind of, I don't want to say weak, but it gave back a lot of its gains. I'll show you on an intraday basis. Actually, and remember, I watched the recent high flyers. That's how I found this one. And actually, I'm going to go over what happened with this in chat today because it's sort of interesting. It gapped up, came down, and when we saw this volume coming in right here, remember, recent high flyer, I went ahead and called this right about here, okay? It was probably 332, 330. No, actually, that's not true. I called it at 325, I'm sorry, with a stop at 315. But what I was looking for was a break of 335, and it popped up to 335. And it had nice volume coming in. I really thought we had one. And then the bid just disappeared all the way down to like 320. So it got in around 325. I ended up selling some in case it didn't break the high of the day. And then I sold the rest for a loss, and I ended up with a net loss in the trade. All right. The only reason I'm showing you this is because there's a lesson here. Just because it didn't go this time doesn't mean we take it off our radar. Now, back in the day when I was a younger trader, I literally would have pulled CLRB off of my radar. When I saw the bid disappear, right, and it popped down, I would have said, well, to heck with that stock, and I would have taken it off. Over the years, you start to figure out, you know what, it didn't go this time, doesn't mean it won't go later. So when it looked like this, and actually it was about 332 on this next push, and you see even higher volume here, and so I was underwater like $200-something in this one, by the way, after that first trade. But I got out, like I just followed my rules, got out. Anyway, when it got up to about 332, about 3 or 4 people in chat typed out the symbol in the room, hey, CLRB, right? The teamwork in there is amazing. Now, the minute I saw that, I just started buying it and jumped on the mic at the same time. I said, guys, another try in CLRB. I called it a Tokyo trade, which means grab it before it breaks the high if you can. And the worst case stop is going to be below this volume candle, okay? So 319. I actually got like a 333 fill, something like that. And this time it went, right? This is what I was looking for the first time. Ended up making over $1,000 in the stock after losing, that's minus the 200 stuff. So actually I probably made about $1,200 in this stock on this pop because I was plus 1,000 at the end of the day, and that was after losing a couple hundred. So anyway, long story short, the lesson is if you have a stock and you're watching it and you know why you're watching it and it fakes you out one time, keep it on radar. All right. So now it goes back on radar tomorrow because you had this nice pop, flag, and an attempted breakout, and it might just go again tomorrow. We never know. So we're going to keep it on watch. CSLT stayed inside of yesterday's range, so I like it still, right, over the 2-day high maybe. So let's keep our eyes on CSLT. FRO, this is kind of what you call a sleeper play maybe. It's not that, you look at the daily candles, there's almost never a really sizable daily candle. I generally stay away from stocks like this. I want stocks that can really move, right? Having said that, it hit 9 here, and it hit almost 9 here inside day, and then, a nice volume, and then closed at its highs today. So up over 9, maybe this one gets going. All right, so that's FROSPEX. I liked it today for a watch, and I did take a trade in this one today, and it was super thin. Ended up with a small loss in it actually, and then it ended up closing strong. So I do like this over today's high, which was 272. So I like it at 273, knowing that 279 breaks yesterday's high, and then who knows? This had a huge move back here. 273, 279. Those are two catalysts. BOSC. A green candle today. Remember, this was on watch for a bounce today, and then gave a green candle. I never caught a trade in this one today. I would have loved to have seen it. I was focused on the morning gappers, but this is a good setup to learn. You had a recent high flyer. You had a quiet day yesterday, and then it gaps down. As soon as this comes back up and goes red, takes out the open or the high, that's a great entry. I just didn't see it. And look what happened. So, you had a nice, that would have been, like a 326 entry, and it went over the next 10 minutes almost to 360. Anyway, and then late in the day popped and kind of flagged again. So I want to watch this one for a continuation of today's bounce, and that is BOSC. GPS. This is kind of interesting even without the after hours activity, because you had the gap down, you kind of had a bounce. You kind of have if you blur your vision, a little cup and handle here. But in after hours, this thing popped up, and it's at 1918 is where it closed in after hours. So set to open as a gapper. If it can hold up in pre-market tomorrow, it's set to open up here. It's an interesting gapper, and if you get a narrow range breakout or something, then you could get up into this gap. So I want to watch GPS tomorrow. RLYP. I like this, but I don't like it, and that's because it gapped up, sold off, and now it's up near those highs of the gap up day. Actually, today it briefly took that out. My problem with it is it's been climbing for 3 days. So looking at it on 15s, in a way it's been building, because you had this pop and then it consolidated, right? And then it took out, it came down today and then popped again, and it's sort of consolidating. But I generally don't want to take something after 3 green days. So that one goes on watch, but I'm not in love with it. And then lastly, I've got CLF, which gapped up a few days ago. Then the next day gapped down a little bit, sold off, but then closed strong. Today, again, gapped down, sold off, and then closed strong. So if this can get over this 3-day high, probably a lot of shorts in this name. All right, so this one is a potential long. That's the list I'm going to start with. We'll find some gappers, hopefully, in the morning to trade as well. And I'll leave it at that. All right, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.